So it's really nice to be here in Google event first time. I delivered a lot of session and multiple conferences, but I thought that why not to start with GDG also. So today I'm bringing a flavor of security in today's session. I'm seeing a lot of enthusiastic people in DK session. You are interacting a lot, you are enjoying that session. So today I will also try to bring that flavor in which in this 30 minutes you will learn a lot about security. Why, as a developer, you need to understand about security, because it's not a responsibility of a security team sitting in your office. It's a responsibility of each and every employee. So this is what I'm trying to bring in my lot of speaks or sessions which I'm delivering, where I'm trying to explain that security is a shared responsibility model. We all have to share responsibility together. So this is all about my talk. And as I'm delivering it first time, maybe you will not find those memes, jokes, everything on my slides, because I want to keep my slides as simple as security is. It looks complex, but when you learn it, when you try to absorb it in your day-to-day life, you will find it, oh, it's very easy. Why not I am implementing it earlier? So it's just like that. So you will find those things very, very simple, and I'll try to touch a very, very important aspect, that is managing identities and secure access with GCP security. So before starting the discussion, I would like to ask from the audience, how many of you are working on GCP? Very nice, very nice. Okay. And what about others? You all are developers, but you are not shifted to cloud. You're working on certain technologies, right? Okay. But everybody is having identity. When you are trying to access anything, you have identity. You reached at the conference, you have identity. You have certain tickets which you have to show at the counter. Otherwise, hotel like Marriott will not allow to come and sit inside, right? So we have to have that identity with us. And then we have certain things which are associated with that identity. How we are going to manage that identity. The question also I want to ask is, why this is a very, very important to have an identity when we talk about cloud platform. We all are using cloud right now. From last couple of years, we are using cloud. But why we need to have identity when we are accessing cloud? Anybody wants to guess? Why we need identity when we are trying to access any application, when we are trying to open any resource, or be it at a conference? Why we need identity? For verification, for authorization, right? And before authorization, rightly said, verification means authentication. That whatever we are giving to a right person. Whatever access we want to give for a certain resource, we are giving to a right person. So that's the challenge we have in the cloud infrastructure. If you see these stats, that how many people right now currently accessing the internet with you all, the numbers you will not be able to count. The number is so long. In that big string, you are a person. How any access will be given to you? Every infrastructure is based on zero trust model. Even if I know that this is my laptop, every time, every day when I'm accessing my laptop, I'm starting that I have to give my password. Even my laptop is also built on the zero trust architecture. Gmail, if you have that two-way sign-in, if you are not getting that yes button, it's frustrating. That your phone itself is not trusting you. You have to say, yes, it is me. Give me that access. But that's how it is. Nobody is going to trust anybody in this online world, right? So this talk is all about that, how GCP is giving you the platform to manage your entire identities in the organization. We have thousands and lakhs of identities. How we are managing the access, because again, the resources, the applications we have, they are also in the huge number. We have a lot of solutions like CASB. You are a developer. I'm sure that you have understanding about these areas. So a lot of things are there. We'll try to touch upon those things. We have a limited time period, so let's move towards and try to understand the agenda and a little bit about me. So I'm a passionate speaker. A lot of conferences I've attended, and I've started with GDG today. My passion on security started in 2010 when I've started developing interest on security. Then I moved to cloud. that how everything is now digitized, everything is accessed from anywhere at any point of time. And with that, I've started my journey in cloud and Microsoft Cloud. And I have tried to understand that the security services with Azure is giving. And I've seen that tremendous services are available at the cloud, but the people, the developer, the designers, they are not understanding that how these services are working. The customers are not understanding that how they can protect their resources which are available. You know that how to start VM, but if that port is open, you are not aware about that. You are only concerned about the code on which you are working, right? But the people, the team who is working behind that, they are also concerned about that. How these security services are working. So my journey started from then, and today I'm also working on Google and a little bit on AWS as well. Just trying to help my clients so that they can create a secure infrastructure for their resources and for their identities. So this is the agenda for today's talk. I know that this is an introduction talk because I was aware that all the developer community will be here, and developers are more concerned about their code. We all have, if you're working on PHP, I know that, connection.php. We have username and password stored in that file, sharing that file, right? If I have access to that file, I have access to entire thing, entire world. If I can hack that connection file where you have username and password, I can hack everything. But developers are not worried about that. They know that I have to store username and password in the file. Why? When we have a lot of security services available like keys, why not to use those keys, store your secrets on those services and use those. So I want to bring that flavor into your developer community where you can start working on this secure coding style, where you can secure your own code so that even if you have stored your username and password, it's stored in a very, very secret manner. Okay, so agenda is we will start with identity and access management. We will start our discussion with why, what are the challenges which are coming. I will also try to ask you that are you seeing such challenges in current scenario related to identity and related to access. Then we will try to understand that how and what all services GCP is giving to us for managing identity and access management, and a little bit about the best practices, right? Till now, any question, anybody? Anything you have in your mind? Going good? You have to give me the feedback because this is my first session with Google. So you have to give me that kind of motivation. Yes, I'm going good, and you are also getting the points which I want to bring in. I know that this is a little bit not the things which you're looking for, but this is important, right? Okay, so let's start with what is identity and access management. So first, what is IAM? So I've given you one example to make you understand about this, that everybody is having a ticket to come here. As a speaker, I have a different privilege. I can come on the dais, I can deliver a session. You don't have that privilege. You have a privilege to come, attend this session. You will be getting some goodies as an audience. You will be learning. Your access is different. My access is different. My authentication way is different. Your authentication way is different. Everybody is having ticket, but the access token which is associated with that ticket is different. To manage those access, to manage that identity, authentication is required, and then we have authorization that is also required. So here in this diagram you will see we have a authorization and we have a authentication. So there is a very strong difference between authentication and authorization. Authentication means you are authenticating that this is a legit identity. Then you are authorizing that identity. First they have identified this is Dr. Abhilasha Vyas. She is speaker of this event. Now they have checked that what kind of access is given to me. Right? As an audience, you are not getting a chance to go and enjoy in the Marriott any room. You have only access to this conference. Maybe someday Google will give that privilege to all of us, but for today, we have that access only, right? So authentication and authorization, one A is left. Anybody wants to add that A? These three A's are important. One is authentication, another is authorization. Access is coming in authorization. Auditing. Authentication we are doing. Why it is important to audit? Keep the logs. Why you want to keep logs? Exactly. Who is doing what? If you're coming here, what sessions you are attending? If you want to take the data, what data is telling us? Like DK sessions liked by most of the audience. So that talk is on the high priority. Next time we'll try to reach to that speaker again, right? So audits are very, very important. So today we will be talking a little bit about that also, but in the upcoming slides. Right now I'll just take a pause at this slide only. Authorization and authentication. So we need to understand this important line between authentication and authorization, right? First authenticate, then authorize that identity to access the resources which are available in your cloud infrastructure. The same thing we are doing at the on-prem also. You are going to office, you have your smart cards, you are showing your smart card, punching it, and then you are getting access to your specific rooms. You can't go and sit in the data center. You don't have that access, right? So authentication and authorization is the basic foundational concept in IAM. Any IAM you want to work, you have to understand this conceptual idea behind authentication and authorization. What all authentication protocols are available? What are available for on-prem? What are available for online world? There are different set of protocols available. How once you are logged in, after that you will be able to access all the applications. If you are using SSO, what all protocols are available for that integration, right? You are accessing from your Android device. Now if you are using Mac, that system is not allowing you to access that. Who is that who is managing that condition? All those things are coming under IAM, right? So who can do what on which resource? That's all about IAM, very, very simple. Who can do what on which resource? I hope that this slide is clear to all of you in terms of IAM. This is the same thing which we are doing in our day-to-day life. We just wanted to give the access to the right people on the right resources. That's it, nothing else. This is a very, very simple job of IAM. Now, why we are talking about managing identities and its access? Any answer from your side? Why we need to have this kind of discussion? Why need to have tickets? Like we discussed that we need to authenticate that person, we need to authorize that person. But why such challenges are coming? Yeah. Right. Right. So we need to have a proper segregation between the access.
Because they don't know everything, like a cloud function and everything, right?
Right.
So just need to stick, because some junior can make a very big mistake.
Right.
Like I can give you a real-time example.
Yeah,
in my organization, one junior made like a recursive call to the one cloud function, and we got the billing of $15,000 from GCP, Google. But fortunately, we are lucky enough that they waive off and they just credited on our like a credit instead of charging us. So we learn a very big lesson from that.
Very right, valid answer. Any other answer you want to add on? Why, like, are we talking about managing identities and access? Why not we can create identities and give all kind of access to everybody? Yes, please. Yeah.
For example, if we take an example of a hospital or a clinical trial, doctors have rights or identity to do a surgery while the nurse cannot do. It was a very base example, if I would say.
Right.
Yeah.
But if nurse is going to do that surgery, what will happen?
Okay, that is quite a bit.
Think about that. That is a challenge. Like the same scenario that developer shared. If we are giving more access, which is required by that role, what kind of consequences can come? If Marriott is not giving access for this conference, but giving access to entire Marriott, what will happen? Think about that consequence. So we have to see a bigger picture. That's why we are coming here and discussing about identity and access management. The attacks which are happening, the people are breaching the identities. You have seen the recent AIMS ransomware attack. You have seen recent Uber attack. You have seen lot of things that WhatsApp data is also on sale in the dark web. So lot of things which are coming. These are creating a scary image in everybody's mind, in every customer's mind, that if I have my identities created and if I'm going to store everything on my cloud, what will happen to security of my data? So because of that, these services are created to make sure that whosoever is going to access, they are going to access it with a secure access. And because create a damage to your organization in terms of revenue, in terms of image also. Right? So we have to understand those challenges, those risks, and then we have to plan out that how we can mitigate those things. Now, GCP, I'm taking today with GCP. This is a Google event, but every cloud is trying to give such facilities to their customers so that they can manage identity and access. How Google is trying to manage is because we are using Google from last so many years. We have all Gmail IDs, we are accessing that. Most of the organizations are having workforce identities, workspace identities, where they are giving access to their identities and using it. So let's see a little bit about this. So first, an important thing is enterprise-grade access control. So we are giving enterprise-wide access control to the identities using GCP, and that is the requirement of today's. Then simplicity is first. Everything is coming in a single dashboard if you see like this. And all those services, if you see, I have highlighted specifically the IAM services which are available, you can see in this dashboard. You are not going to different places to work and to identify the access, to identify the conditional access, to identify the multiple factor authentication. Everything is giving in a very, very simplified version in a single GCP console. At single place, manage everything, create your roles, manage your permissions, everything. And then write roles with fine-grained access. What is the meaning of fine-grained access and why we need fine-grained access? Anybody wants to add anything in that? Fine-grained access. The access which we discussed just now, that the fine-grained means Marriott is given the access to come in this conference room where this Google event is happening. Not to the rooms, not to the swimming pool, not to the lounge, not to the spa, not to Java cafeteria, right? That is a fine-grained. Specific to the resource. If you are a developer, you are only supposed to create certain applications, even not modify that. Why? I will give you the application administrator role. Why not? I will give you only the role which is specific to the permissions which are aligned with your specific designated permissions and jobs. So that access we have right roles. Even for that, Google has created basic roles, predefined roles, and then you can have your custom roles because one site will not fit to all. I can't wear like S. I have to go with double XL. So everybody is having different size. Similar to that, every organization is having different roles. So Google is also giving us the facility to create the custom roles where we can manage the permissions, but whatever service we are using, those permissions should be there so that we can pick as a la carte and we can create our custom role. We'll see that also in the upcoming slide. And then we can automate the access control recommendations. That's a very beautiful feature which is available. If you are not accessing your permissions, we have IAM recommender, which is recommending that this user is having this access policy, but not using this access policy from last 90 days. Why to give this policy to him? Why to give this policy to this group? Why not to remove it? You are member of many WhatsApp groups, but you are active on very few. So what if admins are having that facility to check that who is not active and trying to remove that user? You will only left with the active users. And that will also create a security, right? So that is also available in GCP where you can have recommendations and you can manage those recommendations. And also you have a smart access control. Yes, you have a web, programmatic, and also command line access. So you are, like you can say, proficient in coding. You can go with the programmatic access. If you are good in dashboard, you can go to that also. So everything is available, but just you have to understand that what all services are available. And this is free of charge. That is very, very catchy, I guess, from this slide, that no need to pay anything for that. And you can use your IAM services whenever you want to start with it. And every time, if you want to use a premium thing, there are 30 days license also available where you can enable that and you can start accessing that. This is a dashboard which I have shown to you. A single dashboard where you are creating your workloads also, where you are managing everything. And these are the services which are available under IAM and admin. Okay, this is power off, no problem. Okay, so these are certain concepts which are related to identities. So I'll take these concepts. So first is Google account, service account. How many of you are aware about service accounts? Only a few? You all are developer. I hope that you all are aware about service account. Okay. Anybody wants to answer service accounts? Google account, I think it's completely understandable. Service account, anybody wants to answer? What is service account? Why we need service account? Okay, means you are creating a bot means another application trying to access another application. Something like that, where you are not having any user to access it. When there is any user involved in that, you know that that is an identity. But what happens when there is no user? Application 1 is trying to fetch a data from application 2. How you will be giving the access to that application? What we are doing in our mobile, whatever application we are downloading and it is asking for consent, we are saying yes. Yes, take the consent, whatever data you want to take it, collect it from my mobile. But that we cannot do with cloud. We have to have certain restrictions. Because of that, for every application trying to access anything, any server interaction, we have to create an account, and that is a service account. For service accounts also, we can give the permissions, and based on those permissions only, service account is able to access the data from the other applications. This is a non-user communication where the users are not involved. As a user, I have my identity, but applications are not having identities where they need to access. So we can create service account also. And the Google groups. So what we are doing in Google groups, when we have large number of identities to manage, I can't go to everybody and I can't go and give the roles that, okay, user 1, these roles I'm assigning to you. I'm going to second user, these roles I'm assigning to you. As an administrator, I have to manage lakhs of identities. What I can do, I can group a similar department groups. I can group a similar job role groups. Then I can assign roles to them. What benefit I will get? One benefit, when a user is leaving a user group, Google group, that permission will also automatically be revoked. I'm not going to that user to revoke that permission, but automatically it will be revoked. So group is helping me in managing the permissions, in managing the roles, and better management of the identity. So Google groups are also very, very important. Emails are also associated with it. So there are a lot of things which identities are doing, where we have Google Workspace account, which are the organization account. Then we have cloud identity domain. Here I want to take a little pause and I want to discuss this topic. Cloud identity domain means the identities which you are creating for cloud, where you want to enable lot of things which we talked. SSO, MFA, we want to have lot of conditions around it. So cloud identities are giving us the management of the endpoint management also and the cloud infrastructure as well. So these are very, very important aspects of creation and managing the cloud identities. So we can manage all those things and any authenticated users, all users. So a lot of technical stuffs are also there. I'm just giving an overview just to create a curiosity in your mind. So later, whenever you get a time, you want to go through those things. There is a very beautiful documentation available from GCP, which you can go through to understand more about these specific concepts related to identities. And then we'll come to the next thing, okay? This is how you can create and set up for the organization. We can create identity and organization. We can also work on the permissions for the project, but I'll come to that later. I just wanted to show you the principles which are there. So these are the principles which we discussed just now, Google account, service account. So we can give permissions and roles to the principles. So here you will get the entire list. And when we talk about concepts related to access, the resources, whatever resources are available, we need to manage access to those resources. And then we have permissions. Now what are these permissions? If you see, these kind of list of permissions are available. Dialog flow, .agents, .export. So that permission is related to export. .get only related to get. .list only related to list, because we are more concerned about giving the fine-grained access. We don't want to give a admin access, which is a basic role, which covers thousands of permissions. I want to give a fine-grained access to my resources. So what you can do is, for the permissions, again, you can't pick one permission as a list and assign directly to the user. You have to go back. You have to create IAM roles from the permissions. So what are roles? Roles are nothing but the collection of various permissions. So if I'll say application admin, whatever admin task you want to give to that application admin person, you can pick those permissions from that available list, assign to that particular role, and assign that role to Google Group. That group will automatically assign those permissions to the users which are part of that group. And that will be managed automatically. You will be free when that user will be getting that access, when that user will be, the access will be revoked from that user. So everything will be managed from that. And in IAM roles, as I told you, basic, predefined, and custom. Basic means most of the permissions which are there available in the basic roles, which are created before this IAM concepts come into the picture. Then we have predefined roles like contributor role, you are all aware about those roles. And then we have custom roles which we create based on our requirement. So these are the list of the roles which are available. And you are also assigned with certain roles when you are working in your own organizations. And based on that role only, you are working on that. And allow policy, anybody worked on this or anybody is having any idea? Allow policy means what is allowed to you. We create those policies by creating bindings. So if you see in this is an allow policy where I have members and I have role. So I can create a policy. I think you know the code language, so I'll show you this code. This will give you more clarity. In this, we have this role where I'm giving a role as storage.objectadmin. And I want to assign this role to members. So first, user means a normal Google account users. Then we have service accounts, which I've shown you that principle. Then we have Google groups, and then we have domain like cloud identity or workspace identity. I can assign these permissions that this is allowed for this user. So I can create allow policy, and again I can get the recommendations that when this policy will not be applicable for this specific user. So that all those things I can manage from this. And this recommender which I'm talking a lot since the start, because this is very, very important, and this is where we need to understand the access review. What access you have given, we need to review that access. Because of that, we have this recommender. And you will be getting option that which role is having over granted permissions. And you will be getting a message also that this role is having over granted permissions and you need to work on that permission. You can take a proper action. You want to revoke that, or you want to add any note that, okay, I want to go with this because of role change or some other things. You can take an action on this. Then we have audit logs, which I told you that third A, which we will be discussing later. So what important thing we have in the audit log is that which resource will be accessed by which user, at what time, from which location, from which device, each and everything you will be getting in a record that is required for the audit purpose, plus that is required for the compliance as well. So this audit log will give you a detailed understanding of each and every aspect of the access in your environment. So you can see this kind of dashboard will be created for the audit logs where you have admin access, whatever admin is accessing, whatever data access. So for the admin access, it is by default enable, no need to enable it. But for data access, you need to externally go and enable that log, then that log will be collected. And these are the few best practices. So first is least privilege. Anybody heard this term least privilege? I have 5 minutes, last 5 minutes. Anybody heard this term least privilege? This is exactly what we are discussing since start. Least privilege. Give what is required only. Not more than that, not less than that. That is a least privilege access principle. In IAM, always go with least privilege access. Don't give more than what is required, and if you give less than what is required, what will happen? You'll not be able to work, right? The productivity will suffer. And in security, we always say that balance between security and productivity. So we need to understand that what access I need to give to the users. Then we have service accounts and service account keys. when we talk about keys, I'm sure that many of you are from computer science and you can get that key wala idea. That key means what? We are talking about some term. Encryption, decryption. This is the same thing, right? Google managed key, customer managed key. So all these concepts are coming over here. You have to identify that where you have to use Google managed, where you have to use customer managed keys, because in the organization we also have our strong authentication or encryption method. I can use my own method. Why to go with Google? If I'm trusting my method more, I can go with that. And service accounts also, you have to understand that what kind of access permissions you are giving. So whenever using these terms, please make sure that you are using a proper services and proper keys for managing it. And then auditing. Enable all those things and try to understand from the audit log. There are a lot of third-party softwares available which help you in understanding the story behind this log. Try to understand from that log that what is cooking behind your eyes, what kind of patterns are generated. Now we have a lot of smart softwares like SIM softwares which are helping us in understanding the entire pattern of the attack, the Mitre framework if we talk about. When the attack started, what kind of activities are happening in the environment. Like if you are aware about the smart lockouts, where you are trying 5 times and then your account is logged for a certain time period. How all these things are happening. Each and everything is recorded, and based on that, the automated actions are taken. So we have to understand the importance of audit, not for the compliance, but for the securing the infrastructure. Then the policy management, as I told you, what kind of policies you are creating, blocking, giving access to the certain resources. That's all from my side. This is the first time I tried for you all. I hope that, thank you so much. Thank you everybody, and I completed my talk in the given time. Next time I've seen that you are very enthusiastic and you are really responding to the queries. So maybe I'll bring more security aspects specifically related to the developer point of view, like how you can go for secure coding, how you can test your code, that it is coming as per the recommendations and the guideline or not. Definitely in the next year, if my CFP will be accepted, I will come with that topic, and see you all in the next year. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much, ma'am, for explaining those complex fundamentals so easily for all of us. Like, we all can understand. It was really insightful talk. Now, as a token of our appreciation, we are presenting one memento to you.
Okay, thank you.
A big round of applause for Dr. Abhilasha one more time. Thank you so much, ma'am. And as you mentioned, it was your first GDG event. We hope that we made it memorable for you.
Yeah.
Right? So, and we look forward to see you in next events as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am.